What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Ben Valiant, back with another episode of the Sports Pod. And today I'm going to get into everything that went down in week 10 of the NFL season. I'll get into all of it on the other side of the intro. Hit it.
DiVincenzo a three. Bang! Bang! Got the wall. He jumps. It's gone. He did it. He did it. Pete Alonso with the most memorable home run of his career.
All right, getting into the episode. Now let's start on Thursday night in Baltimore. What a Thursday night football game. First off, anybody with Jamar Chase or playing against Jamar Chase in fantasy football, wow, what a game for Jamar Chase. I saw the highest I saw points-wise for Jamar Chase was 61, which is ridiculous. And the crazy thing is the Bengals still lost that game. The Ravens win 35-34. Let me talk about the refs for a little bit, because the NFL refs have to be worse than any other refs in professional sports. Like, what is the point of having replay assist and instant replay if you're not going to use it the right way? All it does is slow down the games and make them take 30 minutes longer than they should, and you're not even getting the calls right. That doesn't make any sense. If you're using this instant replay, how are you getting the calls wrong? How do you have a job if you're getting after using instant replay? The NFL has a serious problem with the referee. This weekend, this Thursday night rather, it was Joe Burrow with a face mask. It was a pass interference or a holding call on the Ravens. Last Thursday, it was the Sam Darnold face mask against the Rams that effectively ended the game because it induced a safety for the Rams. The NFL refs have they just have to be better, and that's the facts. They don't do a good enough job to be like they just don't do a good enough job at what they do, because they have one job to do, and I get it's stressful. I get there's a lot that they have to watch for, but if you're using instant replay, it shouldn't be that bad. Anyway, I'm convinced that Joe Burrow can throw for like 16 touchdowns and the Bengals will lose by 3 points. That's just the way his career is gone. Joe Burrow is pretty unlucky with, and I'm not gonna say unlucky because it's not solely on the defense. I mean, there's things that he could have done better. But if you're scoring 34 points, you should win. And they would have won if the refs were better. But the NFL doesn't know how to get their refereeing in check. And they have issues with it. There's a serious issue with the refereeing. All right, that's it for Thursday Night Football Week 10. Ravens win 35-34. Now let's get to Munich, Germany, for the Giants and the Panthers. Where do I even start? First, let me start here. I am happy the Giants lost. There is no reason for the Giants to win any games moving forward. And I get that the players who are going to be leaving next year or they're going to be free agents after this season, they need to have good film so they could get a big contract. I get that. But if you're Brian Daboll and if you're Joe Shane, what do you have to lose? John Mayer has already told you that you're coming back this year. So why wouldn't you get a higher draft stock, and then pick the quarterback that you want? Because Daniel Jones will be gone at the end of this year. And he might even be benched at week 11 from what I'm reading right now. We are almost free, Giants fans. We have a bye week 11, but week 12, Daniel Jones may not be the starting quarterback, which is huge. And let me say this about Tyrone Tracy. I really like what I've seen out of Tracy, because after that fumble, the emotions he showed on the sidelines, yeah, it's like you don't want to see the crying or whatever. That I don't really care much for that. But what I have seen from him is that he likes being a Giant, A, and B, he really cares and he's determined to win. And that's the biggest thing. I think Tyrone Tracy, 2-3 years down the line, is going to be the steal of last year's draft. I'm a Tyrone Tracy fan. I think he's going to be a really solid running back. He's not going to be top of the league. He's not going to be a Saquon Barkley, anything like that. But Tyrone Tracy will be somebody who's consistent and produces 2 or 3 years down the line. Giants lose 20-17. I am happy with the result of that game. The Giants need to keep losing. They need to lose out. I want the number 1 overall pick. I want Cam Ward or Jackson Dart. Those are my 2 picks out of the quarterbacks that I want. Cam Ward from Miami and Jackson Dart from Ole Miss, of course. And just getting on a tangent here about Ole Miss. I know I don't talk much college football, but why did the Ole Miss fans storm the field after beating Georgia? I get Georgia's the 3rd best team in the country, but it's not like Ole Miss is terrible. It's not like they're unranked. Ole Miss is the 16th ranked team in the nation. And so they shouldn't be storming the field. I get if it's like Kennesaw State or Georgia Tech or some random school. Not that Georgia Tech's random. Shout out Patrick Ewing, but they're a high enough like ranked team, and they're a good enough team that they shouldn't be storming the field. All right, next matchup: Patriots and Bears in the Windy City. Patriots take this one 19-3. Drake May showing promise as a rookie. He didn't start at week 1. Jacoby Brissett was their starter. What he did, he's started last handful of weeks, and he's looked good. He had that game tying touchdown against the Titans, crazy in provision, and then he leads the Patriots this week with a passing touchdown and 184 yards through the air, 19-3. Like I mentioned before. And here's the thing. I know I've mentioned this a lot over the last couple of weeks, but I am a huge fan of letting rookies sit on the bench for not the whole year, maybe the whole year. It depends on the situation. But in Drake May's case, letting him sit the first 6-7 weeks of the season, it's gonna help him a lot down the line because he didn't have to get thrust into the media. And I know the Patriots are a passionate fan base. Like, he didn't have to get thrust into that if the Patriots struggled, which they were. They're 3-7 on the year. They don't have a good team around Drake May, and they have a brand new head coach who has never coached in the NFL before. So they're not going to be top of the league this year, no matter what. And it's good for Drake May that he gets to sit out that first couple of weeks. So I think him and Caleb Williams are going to be the 2nd and 3rd best quarterbacks of that draft. Jaden Daniels is definitely going to be the top guy. But out of Drake May and Caleb Williams, I think Drake May has a real opportunity to be better than Williams because of what I said, because he didn't start right away, because he was able to sit on the bench and learn from Jacoby Brissett, who's a veteran in the league. Yes, he's not the best quarterback. He's not most talented, most skilled. He hasn't won anything really, but he's had multiple starting jobs, and he's played in the NFL for a long time. All right, Bills and Colts. I think this was a pretty obvious one who's going to be the winner. Bills 30, Colts 20. And this is what the expected outcome was. I mean, I'm not surprised by this. It was supposed to be the score. The Bills are a top team in the league. I think my championship right now is Bills Chiefs. Just because I can't see Patrick Mahomes losing. I can't bring myself to bet against him. What the Chiefs done in transitioning to the Chiefs Broncos now, what the Chiefs have done, not only Patrick Mahomes, but that whole offense, and especially this year the defense. I just don't see them losing. Yeah, they're gonna get a loss out of the way in the regular season. That happens. They're not gonna go undefeated, and I'd rather them lose right now than in January. Because the Chiefs, they're not going to go undefeated, having to come back in the second half every game, which is what they've done. They're not going to win every game if they need a blocked field goal at the end of the game to win. That's not going to work. But what they've done right now in beating the Broncos who aren't a terrible team. They're 5-5, 500. Bo Nix has showed promise. He's going to be in that top conversation out of quarterbacks and players overall. for this draft because Marvin Harrison Jr. just hasn't gotten the ball. But getting back to the Chiefs, they're not gonna win every game with these crazy comebacks, but what they're doing right now is padding their stats. They'll get a loss out of the way in week 14 or 15. They'll see what it feels like, and then they'll come back in the playoffs ready to take on whatever comes at them, whether it's the Bills and Josh Allen, or the Ravens and Lamar Jackson and Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers and Patrick Queen and Kyle Hamilton and all the talent they have in Derrick Henry down in Baltimore. They have a ton of guys that play at a super high level over there, but the Chiefs are just better. The Chiefs have proven that they're better, and this isn't like me going crazy over Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, but they've proven over the last 5 years that they're the best team. They're the most competent team. They know how to win. They know how to win more than anybody in the NFL. And that's what carries teams to the Super Bowl. It's about being hot at the right time, being prepared for whatever comes your way, and knowing how to win football. That's the bottom line. And the Chiefs know how to do all of that. And that's why they keep winning. In the NFL, you don't win games on accident. Every game is won for a reason. And the Chiefs winning against the Broncos, against the Bucks, against the Ravens, it's not an accident. It's because they're the better team and they're more prepared and they're ready for whatever comes their way. All right, next game. And talking about a team that wasn't ready for whatever comes its way, the Atlanta Falcons. They drop a game to the Saints, the lowly New Orleans Saints, 20-17. And I told you on my predictions, I picked the Falcons. I know I'm wrong for that, but I told you this was a trap game for the Falcons. I said that the Saints are in their honeymoon period with their new head coach, and the Falcons, who could be slacking off, and they might not be preparing as hard because they know they're playing a bottom of the league team, a bottom feeder team. They might not be not trying as hard, but they might not be preparing as hard or practicing as hard. But the Saints showed up and they want to play for their new head coach, and they came out and showed the Falcons that they can beat anyone any given Sunday. I knew this was a trap game for the Falcons and a good win for the Saints, a big time win. I know it's not going to mean anything, and they're going to be jockeying for draft position in about a week or two here, but that's a statement win, and it's good for the interim head coaches to get those under their wing because they need those because after this honeymoon phase wears off, they're gonna need anything they can get. All right, next game, the 49ers and the Bucks. 49ers win 23-20. 49ers are back healthy. CMC's back. Brock Purdy has all his weapons again, and they're gonna beat teams. The Bucks are a good team. The Bucks are missing their top guys right now, but overall they're a good team. Baker Mayfield has done what he's needed to with his guys who haven't been like his top guys. He's missing Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, but overall he's done a solid job. And the thing that stinks for the Niners, yeah, they're gonna make the playoffs, but they're 5-4. They might not get a home playoff game, which it's big. In the NFL, the home field advantage is huge. All right, next matchup, Steelers and Commanders. Game of the week. Mike Williams scores a game-winning touchdown for the Steelers over the Commanders, who dropped their third game of the year. And Jet fans must feel sick. And the Jets front office and Woody Johnson and Joe Douglas must feel awful about trading Mike Williams away. He's coming out for the Steelers with a vengeance, trying to show the Jets what they were missing. But the Steelers being 7-2, it's gotta be the most mediocre 7-2 of all time. I mean, they're barely scratching by in every one of these games. I mean, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields are their quarterbacks. They don't have a good enough starter to win a Super Bowl, to win an AFC Championship game. But all Mike Tomlin does is win. It's really annoying because they just don't know how to lose 9 games in a year. I mean, they're gonna be over 500 again. They only need 2 more wins in the last, 8 weeks of the season. They have had their bye, so they're gonna play 8 games in a row. So they just need to get 2 wins, which it looks like they're probably going to. Looking at their schedule real quick, um, alright, they play the Ravens next week, that'll be a good matchup. NFL picks coming out tomorrow. Play the Bengals and the Browns and the Eagles and the Ravens. They have a tough schedule to end the year, actually. They've gotta play the Ravens twice, they've gotta play the Eagles, they've gotta play the Chiefs, they do play the Bengals twice, and they do play the Browns twice. Those should be 2 wins, but overall, the Steelers have a relatively difficult schedule to end the year. Alright, moving on, Vikings, Jaguars, not gonna spend too much time on this game. It was only 12-7. Sam Darnold threw 3 interceptions in this one, and that's how you lose games in the NFL to teams that you're not supposed to. You throw 3 picks to a terrible team, one of the worst teams in the league. Jags are 2-8, Vikings are 7-2. That should not be happening. I mean, that's the, hard and honest truth. You can't throw 3 picks to the Jags and expect to win, but Vikings scratch by 12-7 win. They move on. I'm not impressed. I'm not surprised. The Jaguars deserve to lose. They're not good. Trevor Lawrence was out in this one, and I don't blame them for losing. They're not a good team, and that's all. I mean, I have to deal with a terrible team in the Giants as well, so it is what it is. Alright, next game, Eagles 34, Cowboys to 6. Cowboys dropped to 3-6 on the year. Wow. No Dak Prescott for the rest of the year for the Cowboys. So, it was, what's his name? It was Cooper Rush for the Cowboys. Did nothing as expected, but the Eagles are playing at their peak right now. I mean, that I said that last week. They're playing the best they will this year. They're not gonna get better than this, and let's look at their schedule real quick, just the rest of the way, as we're about halfway through the season, so it's time to start looking at the schedule. Play the Commanders, Ravens, Steelers, Commanders, and those are all their tough matchups. They do play the Giants and Cowboys. They play the Panthers, who are terrible, and they play the Rams, who are pretty mediocre, and they're not gonna go down easily, so they've got some tough matchups coming up. But that's an expected win and a good blowout win. I mean, Jalen Hurts had at least 1 tush push touchdown, I think 2 maybe. Um, Saquon 66 yards, and Jalen Hurts just steals all his touchdowns. So his touchdown numbers aren't gonna be the same as they were with the Giants, but he's still producing at a very high level. Titans and Chargers next game. Harbaugh and Herbert, 27-17 win. This game was close for a while. I mean, at the half, it was 13-7, and then 2 touchdowns in the second half. For the Chargers, kinda blew it open, 10-point win, and that's another game where the Chargers were expected to win. They're 6-3, they're vying for a playoff spot right now, and the Titans are 2-7, looking for that first overall pick. So that's a game that the Chargers should win, and they did what they had to do. Alright, this'll be a fun one to talk about. Jets and Cardinals, who's the more pathetic team in New York? The Jets or the Giants? If you're asking me, I'm gonna have to go with the Jets because the talent level between the Jets and the Giants, it's not even close. The Jets are way more talented with Devontae Adams, who could be an all-pro wide receiver, with Aaron Rodgers, who is a surefire Hall of Famer, uh, with Sauce Gardner, who has taken one of the most huge leaps back this year. I mean, he has taken such a step back. He's just not able to tackle. I mean, Hassan Reddick, Quincy Williams, all these guys, they couldn't hold the Cardinals under 30 points. The Cardinals scored 31 against the Jets, whose defense was supposed to be really good this year. And the offense was supposed to be very talented and really good as well. They only scored 6 points. The Jets are in an awful position right now because they're 3-7. They're gonna have a top 10 overall pick this year, but it's gonna be an 8th or ninth. It's gonna be the 8th or ninth pick if I had to guess. Um, and this is probably the last year they have with Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he wants to come back if he's playing on a team that's gonna get a top 10 pick. That's not the stage of his career he's at. He's either gonna retire or he's gonna go to a team that's ready to win right now. Um, that would be the way of forcing his way out of New York. because the Jets don't seem to be ready to win at all. They they I don't understand what the problem is because 'cause they're so good on paper that this I don't know why they struggle so much on the field. I get football games aren't won on paper, but it's just I guess if I had to say something, it's just that guys are getting old. Breece Hall hasn't done well this year. Garrett Wilson has been good, but he hasn't been great. He hasn't taken the leap like we expected. E the Jets lose at 3-7 now, 31 to 6 loss. It's not good for the Jets. The Jets are in an awful place as an organization, and I don't see it getting better anytime soon. Jets, just end the season. That's what Jets fans want already. Alright, 2 more games, Lions and Texans, that being Sunday Night Football matchup. And I talked about the Chiefs using dark magic. What kind of dark magic is going on with Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, Jameson Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs? That is a loaded roster. But going down, um, 23 to 7 in the first half and coming back to win 26 to 3, that is just incredible. Jared Goff is a dude. He is awesome. He he's not the most mobile quarterback, he doesn't run a lot, but he doesn't have to because his offensive line is good and his wide receivers are good, that being Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs in the passing game is good, and just everybody else on that team is viable. Sam Laporta at tight end, one of the best options in the league. Um, yeah, they're a loaded roster, and like I said, the Texans are suddenly 6-4 now, which isn't that great of a record, yeah, but it could be a lot better. I told you, they're frauds. They're not going anywhere in the playoffs this year. And this Lions team, they're my Super Bowl pick out of the NFC. Right now, after week 10, I think it's a Lions-Eagles NFC Championship game, and the Lions come out and they win. They come out on top in the NFC Championship. But what a game on Sunday Night Football. Or Lions rather, not the Giants. Giants are awful. Lions moved to 8-1 on the season. And the last game of the episode, Dolphins and Rams. I told you guys. I told you. Rams came in at 500. Dolphins at 2-6. Dolphins win 23 to 15. I told you it was going to be because Tua wasn't there for a lot of the season. The Dolphins haven't won because you don't win without a quarterback in the NFL. Tyler Thompson and Tyler Huntley, not NFL quarterbacks. Like, that's just being honest. Um, but Devon Achane won this one for the Dolphins, and he's a bright young star. Achane only 37 yards, but he played really well. I mean, he was huge for this game for the Dolphins. All right, that's gonna do it for this episode. I'm your host, Ben Bally. Make sure you go check out all the links in the description below and keep it locked with the Sports Pod.